Listen. Hey everyone, Casey DeFritas here for NVC, IGN's Nintendo podcast. Our audio is having some technical difficulties. We hope you really enjoyed that acapella by us, the NVC crew.
Also, our sound effects aren't working. The audio having technical difficulties was us.
Yeah, it's just us. It's just us. It's fine. But today we will be giving you an update on some Animal Crossing save news and Nintendo not really wanting to play in the game coming up with the next-gen consoles, our favorite games to play with our Valentine's partners, and a whole lot more. This week, I am joined by Tom Marks.
Hello.
And Per Snyder.
Guten Tag.
And Brendan Graber.
It's me.
Hello. Welcome. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Let's start it off with some quick news. So last week, we did talk a little bit about Animal Crossing saves, and since then, we've had a little bit more of an update. I left a comment on the YouTube video last week, but I know not everyone may have seen it. But the Nintendo UK eShop says Animal Crossing New Horizons does not support cloud saves except in the event of console failure, loss, or theft. The ability to recover save data from the Switch Online server will be available sometime in the future, but only if something happens to your Switch. Direct data transfers from one Switch to another are also not supported, and that information is also not on the US eShop page.
I just don't get it.
I get it.
Why?
Yeah.
They couldn't fix the exploit. There is
They
a
don't
way
want
to
the time
exploit.
travel sorcery.
More than time travel, there's a way to duplicate a rare item or something by transferring to another console and interrupting it. They must have tested this because it's far easier for Nintendo to give you a feature you really want, and the reason for them to actually build a new feature, which is this recovery in case of theft, seems like a lot of work. So it must be a problem.
But see, this is the thing, just real quick, this is the thing I don't understand about it, is like, out of all of the games that you'd be worried about people exploiting, I don't know why you'd be worried about Animal Crossing. It's not like there's any...
Because you can trade your items.
Yeah.
The only thing that tells me is that they're going to microtransaction cosmetic stuff or something. Like, why else would they be this protective of that? Because this is largely a single-player game.
Because when you use the amiibo to get your Great Wall little thing and someone duplicates that, you've lost the value of that item.
I don't care.
So here's the thing. Last week, we talked about this a little bit. I think it's more of the paradox problem that they're coming off. So one island is created for an entire Switch, not just one profile. So how do you take that entire island with you to another Switch? You would never be able to put it back together again. I think that is the problem.
Oh, I see.
Think
multiple players.
Because it's fragmented across 8 different accounts.
Moving to a Switch that doesn't have those same player accounts.
Mm-hmm. Oh. Like, how would you do that?
But I have a problem with the one island per Switch thing, too.
Yeah.
Like, I just don't understand why they're
worked.
but I just don't understand why they're being so protective about this for this game. Where you have Pokemon, where Pokemon is just like, people are exploiting the heck out of that game, and it's actually affecting things sometimes.
They hate that.
Right, and I'm not saying like I'm not chastising for them that for them either. Like, it's just, I don't know. It just is. This is the type of game that I just would rather have these usability features and have some people out there exploiting and just not worry about it.
They should honestly let you, I don't know, maybe bring just your house and have the island stay the same no matter which Switch you go to. Like,
yeah, they should have like the
island-specific switches, but you can bring your
store
house.
where you could just like, hey, you want to move all your stuff to a different island and start over again, but have your house.
Yeah.
I mean, in the end, I'm glad that they're listening and that they're building a feature for recovery. So I think that's good. But yeah, look, I mean, we don't know everything about this game yet. We're fine with exploits and letting people do it, but if there's a way that affects you, let's say there's a competition for the biggest fish, and like there is somebody who will always win because they're able to exploit the game by constantly transferring, right? Like then the player base would be really mad.
Maybe there's something like that I don't know about, but currently from what I know about Animal Crossing, I just don't care, and I wish that we had these usability things instead.
I'm interested.
But yes, you're right. It's very cool they're doing this.
I'm interested if this inability to transfer your save data and transfer your home will prevent people from wanting to buy Animal Crossing. I know we're all going to get it anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, it kind of matters.
I'd love to hear that. If there's somebody out there, email us at NVC@IGN.com or leave a comment. Like, is this a deterrent for you that you can't transfer your island?
Yeah, I want to know. Yep. And speaking of transferring your home, Pokemon Home is out now, which lets you transfer Pokemon from Pokemon Home to Sword and Shield, from Bank into Pokemon Home. There is a lot to talk about this. I'm very mad at them for dropping this at 5:30 last night. Very upset. Thanks, Pokemon. No, it's fine. But I've been working on this all morning. Janet and I have a video in the works on how to transfer Pokemon from Pokemon Bank to Pokemon Home and from the Pokemon Transporter to Pokemon Home. If you don't know what this means, that's okay. I forgive you. You can
How many
look all of
diagrams
it
have
up.
you made?
Oh my God.
She has been super quiet. We sit close to each other, so I can see when something like that happens. She gets very quiet, and there are lots of like tables open and
Flow charts,
live typing stuff.
I had both.
It's like NASA, man.
I had both the 3DS, our 3DS capture kit, and the Switch capture kit, and I was switching back and forth with the HDMI so I could capture both. So
Amazing.
It's a lot. We'll have all of the information up on the wiki page, and I think the biggest news out of this is that previously some Pokemon models were found in Sword and Shield that were unobtainable. I think there's about like 35 of them, but if you have Pokemon like Lunala or Litten, you can now transfer them from Pokemon Bank into Pokemon Sword and Shield.
Oh.
So it's a short list. It's mostly legendaries and starter Pokemon, and also the original forms of the Galarian Pokemon. So like Galarian Ponyta, you can get your Kanto Ponyta in, or an Alolan Raichu, or whatever you want.
So it's not every Pokemon like people initially
No.
wanted, but there is some past the Pokedex of Galar that you can still transfer.
Yes, and as the expansion passes come out, this will expand as well, and you will not have to purchase the expansion pass in order to transfer these old Pokemon.
Oh, cool.
That's really good.
That's nice.
Yeah. So,
Very nice.
yeah, Pokemon Home out now. Next up, Zach Ryan is sick right now.
Yeah.
And he specifically wanted us to call out the 30th anniversary of Super Mario Bros. 3.
That's a good idea.
That was
I
it?
why he'd say that.
Oh, yeah.
This is the North American.
For the North America, it's North America birthday only, but
There are a lot of people who think that's the best Mario game ever made, because of it has very smart level design, very original stuff we hadn't seen in the games before it or the games after it, in some cases until Mario Maker, obviously. But yeah, it's a wonderful game. I'm more of a world guy. When it comes to the classics, I love Super Mario World more just because of the presentation, the music, and everything.
I think that was the one that I remember playing. Like the earliest childhood memory of playing Mario was Mario 3, and going to my friend's house and having his older brother beat the last world because we were too terrified of Fire Tank World.
So are you a 3 guy? Like,
if
3 as
if
your
I had to
favorite
look at the whole
2D?
scope, I'd probably say World.
Okay.
Was more charming, but I do have a lot of good memories of playing 3 by myself and with friends.
I think it's probably like 50-50 World versus 3 people.
oh my gosh, guys, this year it's my 30th anniversary of existing. I share a birthday year with Super Mario Bros. 3.
Oh.
Gosh,
I remember
I feel so old.
30s.
leave me alone. So, happy anniversary, Super Mario Bros. 3. I hope you guys all enjoy it. I don't know, maybe we'll go play that tonight to celebrate.
Yep.
But next on the topic list, we want to talk about, so last week we talked a little bit about how Nintendo has been competing with current gen like Xbox One and how it's sold more than 50 million units. It's done incredibly well. And now we know I think it was the same financial briefing from the quotes we got from last week's discussion, but President Shuntaro Furukawa addressed next gen during the Q&A session and basically said that they don't believe the business trends of other companies will have a significant impact on our business. Basically, they're not worried about PlayStation 5 or Xbox Series X. Mm-hmm. And I just wanted to have a short discussion on why that is.
I feel like they never really did.
I know.
But they always say that, right?
Yeah.
They also didn't worry about mobile games until, there
They
was
worried
a
about
keynote
mobile
about
games.
the devaluation of games based on mobile game prices and all of that. Look, I mean, there is a finite amount of dollars in consumer pockets to spend. Some people wait till occasions like Black Friday and the holiday season or Christmas to purchase a new gaming device. And I don't buy that there is absolutely no competition factor. I think some people make that decision to say, I'm going to buy one console. And by the way, there are a lot of people who will buy the last gen consoles this holiday season over the new machines that are coming out and probably very expensive. So I don't think that there's no competition, but I do think that Nintendo has done an awesome job at creating a device that can sit next to them with the Switch.
That was really my thought process going in as a kid growing up and figuring out which consoles do I want to stand behind and go for with my limited allowance. I was like, okay, I have Nintendo, there's Sony, there's Microsoft. who has the better exclusives that I want to invest in. And then I was like, okay, well, for all the multi-platforms, I'll just get a PC. And then I chose Nintendo as my main first-party console to use and connect with PC. And I feel like that was a big factor for me, is deciding, like, do I want to spend money on another console, or should I just stick with one console, and which one should it be? And in the end, it was Nintendo, but it was like, even if they don't say it, they do have to compete. In terms of a first-party exclusive, what they offer, their infrastructure, their software lineup, their hardware.
Yep.
If I may jump ahead in the list a little bit, because I was going to bring up this quote, and it's already written down here very conveniently, almost like you planned it, that Miyamoto also said lately, the quote is that, lately I feel like the conversation about competition between Nintendo and other game companies is happening less and less. And I feel like that's true, and going on with this quote from Furukawa about, they don't see themselves competing. I feel like what's happened the last 3 or 4 generations, basically, is Nintendo has been a little bit behind hardware-wise and been saying, we're going to do our own thing. And everyone's been, like, comparing them to Sony and Microsoft. And then the next generation will come out and they'll be like, we're going to do our own thing. And everyone's comparing them to Sony or Microsoft. And I feel like with the Switch and this generation, it's the first time that people have, I think they're both right. This is the first time people have stopped comparing them and are now just like, you know what? The Switch is doing its own thing, and then Sony and Microsoft are doing.
I think that's where it's most like the Wii. With the Wii, there was, even though the Wii was a weaker machine stacked up against the competition, I think consumers looked at it and said, that's different. Like, the whole way that you play games is completely different. It didn't compete directly with the consoles on the same level, whereas the GameCube absolutely did, right? And the Wii U, despite the gimmick with the gamepad, also did. People saw that console and its price point as being comparable, but not the graphics and everything else.
But it's so strange because the Wii U came out a year before the Xbox One and the PS4, and it was still, I don't want to say like struggling, but it still could barely keep up with the graphics of like the 360 and the PS3. Like,
I remember when they announced like the list of ports, like, hey, we're gonna have Batman Arkham City. And it's like, okay, this looks almost even worse than the other ones.
But like the Switch is the same way, right? Like, it can't run current gen games
even
without
though it
major
came
sacrifices.
Out significantly after.
This looks so different. This does not look like an Xbox, and you take it with you and you go, like that makes it special and different.
It is a unique experience that the other consoles don't offer, which I agree. Like, it's not a direct competition anymore. It's, do you want your at-home console? Do you want an indie machine that you can take with you with unique experiences only Nintendo can give you?
So that's the other factor, right? Software sells machines, obviously, and like there is a big difference between the install base of the PS4, which is north of 100 million, and the Xbox One, which is less than half that, right? And that's all based on brand power, on software. It's not based on the hardware power, because the Xbox One X is a fantastic machine, right?
And
it's arguably, it is more powerful than the PS4 and the PS4 Pro.
And we do talk about the Switch's power occasionally with stuff like the Witcher 3 port or the Doom port and stuff like that, but never in the same light as we used to.
And the price. The other thing is the price. So when these new consoles come out, and like there's some reports that say, talking like $600 on some of the top of the line models, and it means that the Xbox One and the PS4 are going to go down in price. And I think that's the place where I don't think Nintendo can say we're not competing at all, because if there is a really awesome PlayStation 4 for $200 with a pack-in of some of the best games that are available on the PS4 versus the Switch around that same price point or higher, I think at that point, I think some consumers will go, well, why would I do this one? And then it just boils down to the handheld factor.
No, I think
or which games you want.
Yeah, there's definitely a certain amount of posturing in all of this sort of investor talk of, we're not worried about this, because they're talking to the people who are investing in their company. And if you say, we're worried about these next-gen systems, that's not a good look.
Guys, we're screwed. Give us money, please.
There's
the
always
Game
an
Boy
element
sold
of
so much better.
Right. Like, it's there's always an element of that. But I think that they're not wrong, kind of fundamentally, that they don't They don't really need to be worrying about what other people are doing.
They proved something that Sony tried to spin off a handheld division and basically replicate Nintendo's business model of having a console and a handheld in the market, and the PSP didn't do it, and the Vita didn't do it. Both had modest success in Japan, right? Like certainly the PSP kind of with role-playing games did what the Switch is now doing in Japan.
And even Sony motion controls.
Nintendo went the other way and said, well, dump the console division. Here's your handheld.
And some could argue that there are some offers out there that let you take your games with you. Like PlayStation has remote play, but it just doesn't work very well. I think is the biggest thing. Like I couldn't get Monster Hunter to work in the same room as my PlayStation.
There obviously tech in
it's
cloud
getting
gaming
better.
is evolving, right?
Yes.
There are 2 new services just launched in China. One from Tencent, one from NetEase. Everybody else, like Amazon Cloud is coming, right? Cloud gaming service. Microsoft has one. PlayStation has one. Nintendo has a small one in Japan. Nvidia has one. Ubisoft has one, right? Like everybody's gonna do this stuff. 5G is going to happen. So 5G is not going to happen this year, but it's going to happen in the future, which means suddenly things like streaming on mobile platforms is going to get easier. And so, then we'll have the whole debate whether people want to play a streaming game like a Microsoft game without a gamepad and a controller with a touchscreen. But there will be new competition for Nintendo in the handheld market, mostly through streaming through 5G.
I feel like arguably that's more of a threat. I'm saying threat very loosely than the PlayStation 5 or Xbox Series X.
Probably, yeah.
Because Nintendo's thing is on the go. And if you now have a phone that can stream great quality.
And you don't have to repurchase anything if you can bring your own library with you.
And not that this is podcast unlocked, but that also goes into like Phil Spencer similarly saying that they don't see Sony and Nintendo as competitors for Xbox as much as like the streaming services and the cloud services.
He's looking at Amazon for sure. Yeah.
Like I think Microsoft, not that Nintendo needs to do this or take this tact, but I think Microsoft is sort of playing a couple chess piece like moves ahead of just thinking about next gen and being like, okay, where is this stuff going and how do we compete with that next wave of things?
It is really like, look, I've been around for many console generations, and I owned as a kid, I had the very first console that had removable media, the Fairchild Channel F, with its wonderful cartridges. So I've seen the console generation renew itself. This is the most unique one.
Yeah.
Because the Switch is so different. We've got mobile games in the mix. We've got PC and Steam and all this, like all these different setups across these different devices. And like, I think Nintendo was able to replicate what Steam did for indie games, right? Like nobody has had this success with indie games on a platform to the point where like Nintendo is really reaping the benefits from creating an open platform with indies. And so these platforms are very different right now.
Yeah. There's also...
But nothing stays the same for long. Right?
And to the point of them competing with mobile and having to sort of think about that world, on the other hand, there's a really interesting thing happening with ports that come to Switch, because not only are we getting console ports and PC ports and indie ports on Switch, the Switch, and I see this every week when I go through the list of games that have come out, there's just as many things getting or probably more getting ported from Steam to the Switch as there is from iOS and Google Play Store getting ported to Switch. Yeah. This is the only big air quotes console that can get mobile game ports successfully. Yeah. And it's not something that the other guys can do right now.
So that's, I think the big frontier for Nintendo is to see if they can capture a female market, honestly. And, I don't mean hardcore dragon slayers like you, but like when you break down gaming audiences, the one that is dominated by female players is on mobile.
Yes.
And they have traditionally not come over to consoles and PC to that same extent, right? Where they are in the minority. Like I think across all gamers, it's like capping out at 30%, but like on mobile, it's more than 50% female gamers. And so I'm really curious to see what happens with games like Animal Crossing. Will that attract a different crowd? And does that mean we will see more mobile ports that are a little bit
I think
more
that makes
mainstream?
A lot of sense. So that people used to playing mobile games and wanting to make the jump to an actual system. Like I feel like the Switch is so much more attractive than the other traditional systems.
I can see there being a big push for something like Animal Crossing Pocket Camp having a enticing way to get you to play New Horizons, going like, hey, you can transfer all of your stuff over, or at least some things to make you want to like, oh, well, maybe I should make this jump to the Switch. Yeah, it is very successful for a lot of people. So racked a lot of hours in that.
I guess we talked around this topic and like we came to the conclusion that it's true they don't directly compete and there's a lot of potential, but of course in the end a buck is a buck, right?
Yeah, and they have to compete in some way. And I think what you brought up by bringing the mobile audience over to the Switch, but also I think Breath of the Wild 2 is going to be another bump of sales for the Switch. Like people who maybe hadn't made the jump yet, maybe were able to play Breath of the Wild on the Wii U, even though I know that audience is super small.
Yeah.
And
Mario Kart Ultimate.
Oh, is that coming?
No, I'm just
You've
making this up. But that's why I'm willing a Mario Kart into existence that has all tracks from all games.
Everyone is here.
Everyone is here. And then they never have to make another Mario Kart game. They just update this one.
Yeah. I can totally get behind that.
Yeah.
Then they'll just reboot it with like 3 characters and 2 tracks.
I don't think we'll ever see another Smash Brothers now.
No, but hey,
not on this platform. Speaking
of potential Nintendo Switch news, we haven't had a Nintendo Direct in a while.
Huh?
But that one account, Nintendo of Amorica, said that it's coming tomorrow.
Nintendo of Amorica?
Okay, I gotta
Amorica in France?
I have to say something here because the other day I saw someone talking about the news, and then Stealth on Twitter was like, I had to tell people again that, hey, these fake accounts run rampant everything. And I point out, like, every year, every month, we see Nintendo fake parody accounts tweeting this stuff. And people all the time, they don't look for the check mark. They just immediately retweet it, go, oh my God, guys. And at one point I was like, you think people would wise up? Some people responded and didn't know what that term meant until someone else said they need to stoop it down. Am I crazy that someone wouldn't know what wise up means, but they would know what stupid down means? Because I don't know what stupid down means.
Well,
and I'm having a crisis here.
Well,
am I old or?
Yeah, listen, fam, we'll explain it to you. No, like I don't think you're that old.
Okay.
But
is stupid down a phrase people use?
I don't think stupid down is a phrase. I think it's made up to be a direct comparison to wise up.
Did the term wise up expire?
Yeah, I think somebody's messing with you. Probably a fake account. But like your point is like there was a lot of speculation. I got a lot of people. I saw a lot of people on Twitter speculating when the next Direct is, and somebody always like, I have a good authority from my uncle who works at Nintendo. It's going to be at this time, and like based on what they've done in the past, it's at this time. You can never predict this company to that degree. It is unusual that they haven't done one, but obviously they've done Pokemon specific stuff. They usually always do one before the end of the fiscal year, which is the end of March for them, right? So I think that's a safe bet that we will get one before E3, but they do what they want to do, and clearly none of the 3 companies right now have content. Like this was a slow January. There was last year we had Resident Evil 2 at least,
and
right?
Kingdom Hearts 3.
Yeah, this year this is a slow first quarter. We see it in like just interesting gaming right now. Entertainment content is more popular than games content on IGN because there's just more stuff going on. So
it's amazing to me that a month ago we were all like, the first quarter of 2020 is going to be insane.
Everything got bumped,
and then
right?
everything left.
Like,
Yep.
the moment Cyberpunk moved, some of the air went out, and then honestly, like through the tragedy with coronavirus, like manufacturers getting delayed of some games, things move out. It's possible that you're not going to hear that much because maybe there's uncertainty around ship dates too, and they don't want to commit to something.
But also the other part of that is that if we think that there's this trend of Nintendo almost always having a Nintendo Direct around February, right? It's currently, as we film this, only on the 11th, right? And Nintendo is not, like, it's totally in character for them to be like, hey, there's a Nintendo Direct in 3 days.
Usually
right?
before we can post the episode.
Yeah. I mean, it'll probably be announced by the time this goes live.
So I looked up the dates.
Tell us the dates.
To try and see if there was a pattern to the madness. Spoiler, there really isn't. Actually, a year ago tomorrow, today when this episode goes up, was the Fire Emblem themed Direct.
Right.
And before that, there wasn't a whole lot of January Directs. Back in 2017, 2015, I think even 2018 had one as well. And then no Direct in 2016 until March. Mm-hmm. So they could wait. And there was a Pokemon one in February, in the end of February 27th. Yeah. So there could easily be a very late February, early March one, it wouldn't be out of character for them.
I think the moral of that story is this is nothing out of the ordinary yet. This is no reason to guess or infer anything yet, essentially, of like in terms of like what's going on or anything like that.
My question is it too late to have an Animal Crossing focused direct?
That's what I was thinking too, because I feel like maybe they already assume people know enough. Like, do they need to know every single mechanic? We already showed them a bunch of details.
I gotta think they'll do one just as a hype.
A mini direct could probably solve that.
Yeah, they could do something that they call a direct that's just like 10 minutes of talking about the game, and it's basically just an extended trailer, right?
Yeah, but I could see them just not doing it and going like, we already have faith in this series. People know what they're in for. I don't know. We'll have like a little trailer like a couple days before.
Yeah, it's so much positive news from their earnings and their successes. I got to think there'll be one coming before Animal Crossing. But again, it's like a hard company to predict.
Long story short is, who knows when there will be a Nintendo Direct? Make sure when you see someone tweet about it, they're verified. And we've also saw some rumors about Nintendo not coming to E3, but don't panic. Doug Bowser told THR in an emailed statement, we look forward to participating in E3 2020. It is one of many ideal venues for us this year to interact with people in a social and immersive environment. Every year we base our approach to E3 on the content we have to share.
Yeah,
wait. So a rumor wasn't true on the internet?
I know. Who would have thought?
People are worried, right? Like this year's E3 is an odd one, like with Sony not showing again. And then, Jeff Keighley is not doing the Coliseum this year. He couldn't come to an agreement with E3 after getting frustrated with them. Nintendo announced a while back that they were going to be at E3, so it wasn't something that we questioned. So we were actually surprised to see the mumblings that they wouldn't be there, because ESA, the kings of accidentally posting something, making content accessible, had a list, exhibitors list / map online that you could access, and Nintendo wasn't on it. That's very, very typical. They never have a full exhibitor list. We work with the ESA on like finding booth space, and they send us a version of the map that has some companies blocked out or not yet filled in. That happens every year. So don't jump to conclusions. They'll absolutely be there, and I think we can be pretty excited for what
I heard they're going to build an exact replica of Hyrule Castle. It's going to dwarf the Coliseum. It's just going to be like 10 stories big, an actual castle. That's what I heard.
Not true.
From one of my many uncles.
Then it will be.
That's not true, but you definitely have an uncle at Nintendo.
I'm Twitter verified.
They need to get people hyped for the Nintendo World and Universal Studios. They're going to bring it to E3. Yeah. Just the castle. They're going to drop it down.
I am excited to see whatever they build, because the Luigi's Mansion thing last year.
It's always so good.
So cool. Honestly, there's so much negative news around E3 right now, which is mostly based on, Sony's absence. I think it'll be pretty cool.
Just bring back the Breath of the Wild room. I love that place.
I can say that I know a little bit more than I let on what is going on at that show. And I have confidence that it'll be a good time. Unless you're a Sony fan. No, but even PlayStation games, right? Square Enix will be there, and you'll see some cool stuff on the PlayStation. So Ubisoft's there. They've got awesome games usually.
Yeah.
EA's doing an event right before E3. Microsoft's at the theater. It's like, it'll be cool.
I had plenty to do last year without Sony. It's fine. So this Friday is Valentine's Day.
Aww.
So I wanted to take some time to talk to you all about what are your favorite games to play with your significant other or partner or date for the day, your best friend, your cat, whoever it might be. What are your favorite games to play with your partner?
I haven't played a game with my new gecko yet.
Well, why don't we start with you?
I can play Gex. With my wife, a couple years ago, we played Undertale together, and we had a really fun time. And then we started Deltarune, but we haven't actually picked it up yet. It's just only chapter 1, though, so that's fine. Mm-hmm. And we also played a super scary game, Until Dawn, which was fun for me, not so much for her. I might have live streamed it, so I got all reactions on save.
That sounds
somewhere.
delightful.
But yeah, I mean, we don't play too many games together, but I know that once we get Animal Crossing, I had to pre-order the themed Switch because she will not share. It's like, I want my own island, you're getting your own island. So I'm sure we'll have a lot of island visits once that comes out.
My wife, she doesn't play any video games. As a matter of fact, when we were dating, she totally tricked me. We used to, when we lived went to the same college in Japan together, and we used to always hang out with friends after hours, go drinking. And in Japan at the time, arcades were big, so we would always go to arcades. And she did a pretty good job. We play like Tetris and Final Lap, those giant machine Street Fighter, all of that in arcades. So I thought she played video games, but it was all a dirty trick. We only got married because she played video games, of course. No, she doesn't play them. It's something she just can't get into. She does get motion sick from from 3D games, anything polygonal with lots of camera moves. She just has that issue. However, she will join one game, and that's Dr. Mario 64.
Right.
Every Dr. Mario 64. First of all, it's 4 players, so she'll join it. She'll join it. Her mom loves Dr. Mario 64. And so maybe we'll try something like that again. I think if she played Animal Crossing, she'd love it. Or if she played Snipper Clips, she would love it. But she's
going through the pocket camp route.
I'd rather watch TV or do something else.
Yeah, I mean, that's fine.
So after that sad story.
Well, also, I don't force your significant other to play video games or do things they don't want to do just because you like them to.
That's right. No, my wife's amazing.
Yeah.
But I get to play the games.
So my fiance and I play games a lot together already. But we only make points to play on special occasions. Like for our anniversary one year, we went to an anime convention and played Monster Hunter Generations Ultimate for 6 hours. It was a great time.
Could not have predicted this.
It was so romantic. We brought White Claw back to the hotel room and then played Monster Hunter.
Amazing.
That's hilarious.
I've played Monster Hunter with you and your partner.
Yes, and it's so much fun.
Yes.
We play with a lot of people, but we always make a point to play together during special events. So we're not going out to dinner on Valentine's Day this week. We're going to dinner on Wednesday night because it should be significantly less busy than on Friday because dealing with crowds doesn't sound fun.
Pro strats right there.
So
what's the game going to be?
What is the game? I think we're going to play Pokemon.
Okay.
I think we're going to battle some
also
Pokemon.
Really off-brand.
Make some doubles teams, maybe some Monster Hunter. Maybe we'll play some Pokemon cards. And I might be able to convince him to play Luigi's Mansion 3 with me. We'll see.
Man, that's a really good co-op.
It's a special occasion, so I can be like, it's
Also, you can never go wrong with Mario Party.
Mario
My
Party
wife loves Mario Party too.
Or just really wrong, yeah.
No, it's the perfect test of your relationship. If you can get through a 50-turn game, you're good for life.
Over 50 turns?
That's the true gauntlet.
I haven't gotten through 50 turns with my friends. That's.
Then you better get better friends, Tom.
Oh my God.
That's funny.
What about you, Tom?
I don't think I like anyone in the world.
If you can't handle me at my star stealing,
I used to do it all the time.
You don't deserve me at my best.
No.
What's going on in Tomland?
We play a lot of RPGs and puzzle games, I think.
Ooh, Divinity Original Sin 2.
Yeah,
I forgot to mention
Original
that
Sin.
one.
We played through all of Original Sin 1 together. We played through... We didn't beat Original Sin 2, but we played through a lot of that as well. We used to play a long time ago, back in the younger years. We played a lot. I know, I'm sorry.
No, I have.
Para, I'm going to make you sad real quick. I just turned 29 on Saturday.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
We played.
They already had flying cars when you were born.
We played a lot of The Sims back in the day, which was fun. We also played all of Persona 5 together. All of Obra Dinn. Return of the Obra Dinn.
So do you hand off, or there's one person watch usually?
No, it's usually like single. Usually we like single player games, or there are good single player games where like I'll just control and then we'll just talk things out, or and then we'll switch off and she'll control for a bit and we'll talk things out. That's a good way to do it. There are some sleeper single player games that are actually great co-op games.
We actually do that with Slay the Spire and most recently Witcher Tales Thronebreaker. Mm-hmm. They're just I don't know. I'm super indecisive, so it kind of helps to be like.
I did that with Undertale. I let her make decisions while I did the bullet times.
I used to do that all the time with my other wife, Matt Casamassina. We used to always play single player games, but we would hand off like after an hour, going like, "Meh, you play." He's a really big wuss. He gets scared by like games like Resident Evil. So I always had to play, but he would always commentate and say what to do. And
man, I really could have used you when I had to play Resident Evil.
We also, and this was we haven't done this in a long time, but we used to play a ton of Civ together in the same way. Not multiplayer, just single player games. And the trick of that was that every time I play Civ, I always go like full culture. I love doing cultural victories in Civ. And she goes, destroy the entire world, raise every city to the ground, and those play styles are like they do not mesh well.
Wow.
So we'd occasionally like not get in fights, but like have to like we'd reach a point in the game where we like have to pick a path and either go terrible.
What if we killed them a little and then we compromised some cultural victories?
Wipe them out.
Yeah.
See, I try to make that decision as a compromise in Thronebreaker the other day, and it ended up being like the worst one you could choose. So sometimes compromise isn't the way.
Thronebreaker's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm really liking
really
it.
fun.
Tom Mark's recommendation again, really good.
I'm hoping people, if you are playing that, let me know on Twitter, because it's one that even in its time on PC did not get enough love because everyone just heard Gwent card game. So I'm glad you're liking it.
It's so much more. It's so much more than that.
Yeah.
So, hey, thank you guys for sharing your Valentine's Day or just regular co-op picks. If in the audience, I'd like to know what you guys are going to play on Valentine's Day. Let us know in the comments. And moving on, there are some new games out this week that maybe you might want to play with your partner or friend or whoever you want this weekend. And first up is AO Tennis 2 out on the 11th. I am unsure what this is, but we gave it a 7.
It's a tennis game. Yes, we gave it a 7.
I assume it's a tennis game.
So this is the funny thing, real quick with this one. It's very funny because our quote in it, like we have a quote in the review from Luke that was basically along the lines of, like, this is the best tennis game in years.
Yeah.
7 out of 10, right?
Oh.
Like it's tennis games have just not.
The bar
tennis.
is kind of low.
I feel that way about NASCAR, and like I'm not trying to insult any fans of the sport here, but like some people feel that way about Formula One, and I would say, well, Formula One has turns, not just in one track. No, like it's like there's certain genres of game that when they mirror the real world who are a little bit tougher to make as exciting.
Yeah.
But like obviously if you're a fan of tennis, it's going to be better than a 7 to you. Like if you're looking for, something that replicates that sport. I've seen this game run on our monitors a bunch. Obviously, Australia's got a couple of games that perform really well there. Tennis, rugby, cricket, all that kind of stuff. And this is one of them that we review every year for our Australian audience.
And it's out on Switch.
It looks good. It looks really nice.
I'm just happy about more sports games coming to Switch. I think that's cool.
Yep.
And next up, we have Florence, which
also
is
a tennis game.
It's definitely not a tennis game. Out the day before Valentine's Day, and it is originally a mobile game, and it is a beautiful indie game about a relationship, and it will probably make you cry or tear up or be sad. So just be prepared for that if you want to play it. But it is really pretty, and I highly recommend it. It is a well-loved game in the office. Next up is Glass Masquerade 2 Illusions out on the 13th for $11.
This is a dumb shout out, Tom shout out game.
Oh, okay.
This is basically
Never expected.
a jigsaw puzzle game, but just with stained glass windows styles. The first one came out on Switch last year. This is the second one. If you are into jigsaw puzzles, these are just really, really, really well presented jigsaw puzzle games.
Yeah, I looked at this. I asked Justin Davis, who played it on mobile a ton, like the first one. He said it's probably not my kind of game. Like I do get bored by the jigsaw puzzle stuff after a while, but the presentation is really nice. It looks good.
Yeah, it's just like
very pretty.
There's not much more here than very, very pretty jigsaw. Just one to throw out.
I thought it was a puzzle game, like a real puzzle game.
No, it's jigsaw puzzles.
Yep.
So next we have a port, Darksiders Genesis, out on Valentine's Day for $40. We reviewed it for an 8.7.
Yep.
Yeah.
I haven't played
Diablo-like, so it's pretty good Diablo-like.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
That's it.
I might play this on Switch.
I think I might too.
I like the Darksiders series.
I don't. It's so hard because we already have Diablo 3 on the Switch, so it's like.
I know everything gets compared to it.
I know. So okay, I would maybe if you're tired of Diablo 3 but want something like Diablo 3.
There you go.
There we go.
You like the Darksiders.
Next up, I kind of want to check this out. Speed dating for ghosts.
Oh, this looks
Sounds
so
like
cute.
you would really like it.
I saw some footage from it. It looks really cute.
I want to play it. I'm going to play this. I'll report back next week.
It's like a dating visual novel, but all the things you're dating are like horrible ghost monsters.
I love it.
And it's out on Valentine's Day on Switch.
I got
love it.
Too many ghosts in the real world.
Next, we have Wargroove Double Trouble DLC. Guys, are you guys excited about this? What's the side for?
I got ready for the airport on Monday. I had to leave my house at like 4 a.m. to get to the airport. And I took the time to update the game on the Switch because I wanted to play it on the flight. And then I'm on the flight and I start the game and the co-op campaign is grayed out and it has a little download icon. So, of course, alas. But I downloaded it now, so I'm going to play it. But basically, it adds a new campaign. You can play single player or co-op, including new units, and it's free.
Yeah, there's a new faction, there's a new units, there's like 3 new heroes as part of that faction, bunch of cool new stuff. I really need to, you've told me already, but I really need to dive back into this game because I've heard it's already changed a lot since my review. And I'm excited to see more of it.
They took your review and they put a check mark next to your major complaints, and like you didn't have like giant complaints. You really liked it.
Yeah.
If you love Advance Wars, or even if you're even a Fire Emblem gamer and you're looking for something exciting, this is like going back to the classic Advance Wars game. So it's pixel art. It's just really fun. It's a really good game.
Extensive free DLC is lovely too.
Yeah.
So.
No, it's just cool that they're supporting this and that they made the time to improve the few flaws that it had. It's great. You should play it.
And another great DLC, Dead Cells: The Bad Seed. So this is actually the 17th update and is only the first update that you have to pay for, and it's only $5.
Yep.
I feel like there's so much that has changed in Dead Cells since it first came out. I just don't even know where to start.
Oh yeah,
from the beginning.
They've revamped a lot of it since launch. And for the record, I just want to say this. I'm really okay with a game like this doing paid DLC, especially when it's reasonably priced like this. There is this expectation nowadays that games like Dead Cells that started in early access and grew with the community should just keep growing forever for free. And that's not how human beings are able to eat food.
No.
That's not a sustainable thing unless you keep
need...
selling copies of the game, and that's not always a guarantee. So I'm super, super cool with a developer saying, hey, you know what? We're going to keep updating this game. We're going to keep supporting it. We're going to keep doing free updates with other stuff, but this thing you're going to have to pay for to keep us going. I'm totally cool with that.
Yeah.
I completely agree. So that's all for what is out this week that we think is notable, but what is everyone playing? Oh, that's out next week. Yeah, it's actually out. I mean, if you would like to talk about it. There were some NES games and Super Nintendo games announced to be coming for the Nintendo Switch Online service.
You make it sound so exciting.
I know, I am. It's coming out next week on the 19th. Yeah,
to those who are paying the annual subscription for Nintendo, obviously you haven't gotten any games in January, but yeah, they're adding 2 NES games, 2 Super NES games. They're mostly boring, but they are adding Poppin' Twinbee, which I brought in my copy, my Super Famicom copy here. It is a lesser-known shooter from Konami, from one of their great teams at Konami, that came out in Europe, actually, but it never made it to the Super NES in the US. And, it's a 2-player shooter. You can play single-player or 2-player, kind of like an isometric perspective, but it is exactly like Parodius, if you've played that from Konami. Overhead shooter where you can shoot and you can throw bombs. It's whimsical. It's like super pink and purple and everything. And it's good.
If this is the only way we get new Konami games that we've never seen before in the US in 2020, all right.
I love this.
Pear brought in the Super Famicom actual version, so if you're listening but you want to check out the box, he has it on the video version.
I have a confession. It was already at my desk because I brought it before.
Oh my goodness.
I think it was Sam or someone said he'd never heard of it, so I brought it in. No, it's a really good game. It's not a 9 or 10 game, but it is like, Konami made amazing shooters, including Axelay on the Super NES. Axelay slows down a ton. This one actually runs really nice, even though it has a ton of stuff going on the screen, and it has screen-sized bosses, just like Axelay. Not visually as impressive because it's happy, poofy Cloudland stuff, but and really high-pitched screaming voices.
I love
Perfect.
But I think you'll dig it. I think it's a good game. It's easier too, so it's not frustrating.
I'll definitely check that out before the show next week, so we can talk about it.
About an hour to play through.
Oh, really? Just an hour?
Yeah, it's most shooters.
I'm gonna do it.
Yeah.
So, what else are you guys playing this week?
Preparing for Nioh 2 by playing Nioh 1 again because I never finished it. Boy, that game is tough after you played Sekiro and paired everything and you're like, oh shoot, I can't do that anymore.
Oh no.
Aw.
And then
it's all dodging again?
Yeah, all dodging.
Okay.
It's a very different system, but I like it. It's fine.
Nice.
What about you, Pear?
I'm playing a couple of games. I'm playing some smaller indies on the Switch that just came out. There's one called Marooners. It was also out on PC, on Steam. It's basically like a little Mario Party. It's, what is it, 25 mini games. It's like a $15 game from M2H. It's decent. It's like kind of an indie version of Mario Party, so it doesn't quite have that character appeal, but it's like if you're looking for something to play with the kids, it's good, decent 4-player game. I wouldn't say good. Sorry, but Crash Drive, they also brought this out. Crash Drive 2, it reminds me of the stunt mode in San Francisco Rush. If you guys ever played the old Rush games, Ed Logg's little Midway games from the N64 days. So it's basically like it's an open arena. You drive around with monster trucks and school buses and stuff, and then it'll throw you in a multiplayer online match. Like while you're exploring, it'll start an event, and you have to compete on different rule sets. And it's basically like half pipes and loops and like driving up walls and doing flips and getting stunt points, and whoever does the best gets the win. It's actually it's nothing that you would get excited about visually. It looks very San Francisco Rush, like almost flat shaded, but super fun little multiplayer game. It's just $9. And then sometimes the developer brought out Seventh Sector. Are you guys familiar with that one? I feel like this one is really under the radar. It's an adventure game, a puzzle adventure game where you are a spark of electricity, and you can. It's actually really pretty looking too visually. You can move the spark through power lines, and then you come to like intersections where you have to figure out a puzzle. And it could be like a numbers puzzle, like you're in a breaker box and you have to match the current by adding up numbers. There's a puzzle where, for example, you go through a sleeping kid's room through the power line, and you can activate a remote control car, and then you can move, like you can use the car on screen to like push paint buckets into an elevator and create the exact weight needed for it to open. Like it's like puzzles like that, like they don't make sense, but it's something about an AI becoming sentient and traveling through these wires, and it's really pretty. This
is like a very Tom game. I'm surprised
it is very Tom. It is like it's very linear in that like you have to solve a puzzle to move on, and sometimes you get stuck a little bit on like you're not exactly sure what the game is trying to communicate, and then when you figure it out, you're like, I see, I can read the hint now. It's like basically like brain teasers one after the other. It's a little expensive right now, $20. I'd wait for a sale, but I'm digging it. I think it's really nice.
Cool. What about you, Tom?
I've been playing a lot of Half-Life. Yeah. Not on Switch.
Okay.
But it's funny because I tweeted about Half-Life 2 at one point because I'm just trying to catch up before Half-Life Alyx comes out.
It's all free on Steam right now.
No.
Yeah, and it's all free on Steam right now. But I tweeted about it, and somebody responded to me and was like, man, they should really release the orange box on Switch. And it was the first time I had ever thought about that.
That's really true.
That's a great idea.
Yeah.
Bring it to Switch.
I guess there are no Source games on Switch right now, so I don't know how that engine would behave.
They have to figure out the netcode for it.
That would also include Team Fortress 2, right?
Yeah.
Which has gone through so many iterations.
But
it's for people who haven't played it, it's Portal and Half-Life.
Portal, Half-Life 2.
And then Half-Life 2
Episode 1 and 2, and then there's also Team Fortress, and I thought there was something else.
Was Ricochet on there?
Counter-Strike? Not Go. But I think there was like an original Counter-Strike or something on there.
We'll look it up.
It was a lot. And yeah, I think it would be great to have those old games on Switch.
That's a really perfect addition.
Yeah, and Half-Life 2 holds up.
Yeah.
5 titles from Valve: Half-Life 2, Half-Life 2 Episode 1, Half-Life 2 Episode 2, Team Fortress 2, and Portal.
Yeah. Okay, so none of this yeses, but yeah, that would be a great thing to bring, even if it didn't include TF2 for whatever the online reasons were. If it was just the other games, it'd be really great to see.
Oh yeah, they could do the orange box too and add all the games Valve did afterwards.
Yeah.
Which is
put some Left 4 Dead's in there.
Portal 2?
But that's not.
That's right, Left 4 Dead's in there.
Unfortunately, that's not a Switch game, but I've just been playing a ton of Slay the Spire still, honestly.
Yeah.
On Switch.
I can't wait for
You're
the new
playing
character.
Kunai. We talked about that.
I've been playing a little bit of Kunai.
How is it?
I'm liking it.
Okay.
It's very. The movement doesn't feel like a lot of other games like that because very, very quickly early on you get to Kunai and you can shoot one out to the left and one out to the right. So it's sort of got this movement like Worms, right? If you know the Worms games using the ninja rope where you can like swing on ceilings, but then also you can do this thing if you get into exactly. If you get into like a vertical shaft, in other Metroidvanias, you have to like wall jump or wall hop off of them, right? In this, you just go ba 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 and tap left and right trigger over and over and over again. You shoot out ropes and like climb really fast like a spider, and it's like that movement is unique enough and feels different enough that it's actually really, really interesting.
I I'm playing a lot of games, but I don't think they're important to talk about because I think question block is more important. So let's move on to question block.
Appreciate your sacrifice.
This one is from Patrick Hughes, and this was a question that we had previously but didn't get to because Pear had to go. So now, this one for Pear. Nintendo has kept the Nintendo has kept the F-Zero series dormant due to a lack of new ideas for the series. Let's help them out. What new ideas do you think could revive F-Zero?
I'm prepared. I mean, first of all, it needs some new ideas because people didn't buy them, right? Like F-Zero GX and the arcade version AX by Amusement Vision. Sega took over the franchise from Nintendo on the development side. They were really good games. They were really hard, but they were excellent, and then nobody bought them. And then even F-Zero X, which was a really good game but kind of sparse in its presentation, didn't like make a dent like a Mario Kart would. And the same is true for Wave Race. So, you know, the obvious answer that a lot of cyber races have done is adding weapons. Like, I love the racing in these games. I wish they would do the construction kit route that they did on the 64DD. There was a version of F-Zero X that let you build your own levels. I think now with online, finally, you could build a really powerful set of tools, get people to share stuff, and have that same sort of excitement that Mario Maker has created for this franchise.
I was going to say a really similar thing.
Yeah.
Because one of the games that I think sort of died in obscurity a little bit of the previous generation was Mod Nation Racers on PlayStation 3, which had one of the best, most intuitive racing track builders I think I've ever seen in a game before or since. And if Nintendo was just leaned into the Mario Maker style of things and was like, you know what, we're going to give you a bunch of creation tools for an F-Zero speed game, I'd love that.
I think trying to imagine making a speed track accessible for everyone to create.
It's super not easy. I don't think it's an easy task at all.
Yeah. I've made some on the 64DD and they're just so devilish. Like, because when you create what you can do, like with the pipes and the half pipes and all of that, you can create truly evil levels that make you fall to your death all the time. That said, I do think like GX had the right idea by creating a story mode. F-Zero actually has all these really cool and crazy characters. Obviously, we know Captain Falcon and like Samurai Goro from like, you know, trophies and stuff in Smash Brothers. Like, I wish they would lean into that lead character, make it all about Captain Falcon, and then have a story mode that can be played by more people and it's not so devilishly
have him bounty hunt. He's a bounty hunter.
It'd be really cool, yeah. I mean, you could also do an open world game in the F-Zero universe and you drive cars and it's Grand Theft Auto with cyber sleds, but who's going to make
GTA cyber sled?
I got 3 words of how they reintroduce F-Zero. Make it anime.
Yeah.
Okay.
Worked for Fire Emblem. It work here.
Yeah.
I want to go to the F-Zero School of Racing.
Yeah.
Where Professor Captain Falcon teaches.
Oh my God! The art is already ready for it. Yeah. No, that's great.
Okay, we're gonna try and fit 2 more questions in. Next question, rapid fire from Tyler Shippen. Have you ever broken a video game system? How did it happen?
Oh.
I'll go first. I left my Wii U on a platform where I know my cat liked to frequent, and then he knocked it onto the tile floor, and the CD reader got jammed, and Pokken Tournament was forever locked inside it, but could not be read.
I broke my Xbox by just playing it. The Xbox 360. I believe
the red ring.
I'm trying to remember. I believe I sent in 5 Xbox
goodness.
360s. It was almost like a comedy. Like they kept on breaking just because, and I didn't have them inside like a credenza or anything. They just red ringed all of them one by one.
Yep.
And you just had to look at them for them to break.
Bless you.
Thank you.
I broke my Wii by playing it. I still remember exactly what I was doing. I was playing Super Mario Galaxy 2. I was on a level we had to ride the giant dinosaur. I forget his name. And like it started to get really, really slow. I'm like, this doesn't seem right. And then the colors just started to kind of like coalesce and just made this really angry, slow noise. And I was just like, I think it's getting possessed. And then I just refused to like do anything until I shut it off and wouldn't shut it back on again. Yeah. And I just sent Nintendo for repairs. They sent me back a brand new one, but I lost all of my save data, including all my Smash Brothers unlocks for the Wii.
We had some pretty high failure rates for the graphics processor.
It lasted
with, like,
a long
noise
time,
on the screen and stuff. Yeah, I remember that.
What about you, Tom?
No.
What?
I'm responsible.
Come on.
I broke the little door on the top of the Wii that covers the GameCube controller ports. I broke that off.
Okay. Oh yeah, I did too.
That's it.
That's fine.
That's fine. Keep it open. You just got to play Smash.
Excuse me while I throw some shade.
Yeah.
This last question is from Harrison Milfed, and he says, with Valentine's Day coming up this weekend, what is the first Nintendo game you truly fell in love with and why?
Link to the Past.
Yeah.
That's
100% Link to the Past.
Why?
I don't know. It was the game that my mom said she would stay up while we were asleep and play. And I was like, that's weird. Adults can like games. And so I got obsessed with it as a kid.
I think my sister would watch me play that game too, and we would take turns. And I would sit in the dark world and just listen to the music and just like play with my action figures. I would just like look at the little horizon and just like, this is a really cool game.
Man, that Dark World.
For me, it was like, look, Link to the Past is just fantastic, and I love that game. Excuse me. Oh, Valentine's. No, it's Super Mario World for me because I played that first.
Yeah.
I got my brand new Super Famicom, put that in. I just didn't stop playing. It was just so amazing. And my wife bought me the Super Famicom and that copy of Super Mario World, so it was very special.
I had a Super Nintendo and I got a Game Boy for Pokemon, and I want to say Ocarina of Time. Like I played so many games before that, and Ocarina of Time was the first game that I really got lost in and had feelings towards. It made me have feels when other games.
Did you cry at the end?
I don't know.
I got teary-eyed at the end.
I just have so many fond memories, and it was the game that I bonded with some of my best friends, who I'm still best friends with. Like all these years later.
Aww.
And I think without Ocarina of Time, I wouldn't have fallen into loving video games as a whole as much as I do now. So
I got teary-eyed at the end of Link to the Past. He's got a little boy. The little boy turned to wood, and then it's like he puts the sword back.
The Master Sword sleeps forever until the next
so
game.
Good.
I was a heartless child.
So
I was sad at Ocarina of Time when you learned that like he had to go back and he would never know the future that was so grateful for him. I was like, oh my God, poor Link.
Yeah.
Well, that's about all the time we have left for NVC this week. Thank you so much for watching and or listening. Remember, you can catch us every Thursday at 3 p.m. on YouTube or IGN.com or Spotify or any of your favorite podcasting platforms. Again, thank you so much for listening. Thank you for our production assistant, Logan Plant, and for all of you for being here. And remember, NVC is the only place you can
get the thing.
That is the wrong thing.
Thing.
Goodbye.